Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So excited for today. I'm glad that you can all be here. I see lots of familiar faces along with our course members. Hi, Lara.
Alter this mode. Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, great.
Awesome. So I'm just going to open up by saying thank you everyone for being here as everyone continues to come into the classroom. We're going to deep dive today. This is one of my favorite topics, and the reason that I wanted to invite everyone to this, everyone in our tribe, is because understanding the fundamentals of emotional system and how it stores within our organs, it kind of creates an understanding for you, not only for yourself, but also for people in your life. Because I know not only for me dealing with health issues and overcoming them with acupuncture and with Chinese medicine and with energy healing, also I have family members that are terminally ill that could use this information too. So if there's anybody in your life that you know that may need this, please share this and pass it on. Other than that, we're going to just dive in. This is also one of my favorite topics to talk about because it's so fucking fascinating. I remember when I had a ruptured ulcer. So this is how this all started. I had a ruptured ulcer, and that is like solar plexus power point, right? I was in a suppressive marriage. I was experiencing a lot of emotional abuse, a lot of things going on in my life, which was the story of my entire existence and of this lifetime anyways. And so I was in the bookstore one day, and the Louise Hay book, You Can Change or You Can Heal Your Life, literally fell, enough for me to be like, oh shit, what's that? So I flip open, and it's like right on the page where it's talking about the emotion that is causing the illness. And it was like loss of power. And I'm like, holy shit. This is exactly why it's stifling. So I realized, because I had also been doing my own studies too on cells and, energy and the DNA. When you are in a constricted state, it constricts tightly and coils, and it cuts off your life force. So not only was I allowing my power to be suppressed in my life, it was happening in my body. So our body is the number one way that we're going to be able to see if your body doesn't look the way you want it to look, if it doesn't feel the way you want it to feel. There's emotional things going on that are actually causing that. So we want to look at that today, and we're going to go through that with Lara, who is a professional in this area, a Chinese medicine specialist, the most amazing woman I've ever met, not to mention acupuncturist and everything else that she does with her breast health and helping women. And I mean, she changed my life. Before I went to you because I was addicted to nasal spray. Do you remember? So I was 9 years. I started using nasal spray when I was pregnant with my son. And my OB was like, oh, you can use this brand, just get it over the counter. It's fine. Well, I've been using it for 5 years and then read on there that it's addicting after 3 days. And so really, too, what that's linked to is fear, because when you're subcutaneous, your glands are swollen. It's like those oil glands in not only in your skin, but in your, Lara, you would term this better than I can, but it becomes inflamed because you're in fight or flight mode all the time. So people who have allergies, they're in fight or flight mode. People who are living in fear-based energy, they're also have a lot of nasal issues, those kind of things. And so when I tried everything, the neti pot, everything, I have to try acupuncture. Acupuncture came through to me in meditation, and I said, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to acupuncture. I found Lara, and that was years ago. I mean, like at least 10 years ago, if not more than that. So it actually was more than that, maybe like 11 or 12. It was a long fucking time ago. But anyway, since then, we've gone through and we've done chakra acupuncture, which has radically changed my life. So if you haven't done that yet, I highly recommend you either go to Lara if you're in this area, or find an acupuncturist that does the esoteric acupuncture, because that also is going to be like fast track. So as I continue to speak, before we even get into it, let's just get connected. So if everyone would just close your eyes and tune into your heart space and take a deep breath. And just let it all go. And we invite the energy of divine love to flow through, to guide this conversation. And all of your inner beings, your spirit guides, your soul essence, any information that is for you, may you receive that. May you receive what you're looking for and what you've been asking for. And maybe you find your answers, or your answers be revealed to the questions that you've been asking. And any information that sticks out to you, just write it down. It may be for you or somebody else. And just allow yourself to receive. There's going to be a lot of information as we move through, and we want it to become more of a cellular knowing. So just set your ego and your critical mind to the side, just by saying, I set my ego and my critical mind to the side, and I listen to the truth of my heart. And we surround the space with the white light of divine love. We call forth all the benevolent etheric beings who are here to help us ascend. May we learn, may we receive, may we know, may we integrate all of the knowledge, wisdom, and connection that we receive. And we say these things in the name of love. Amen. Okay, so what is your take on it, Lara? What do you have to share?
Well, that was a beautiful meditation. Thank you for that. When I think about the organs in the body, and in Chinese medicine, they are so intimately connected to not only the emotions, but also the season that we're in. Mm-hmm. So, if we move through, the 5 main seasons in Chinese medicine, we will get connected to, the emotion and the organ systems that are all related in that time frame. So, taking basically, summer, if we start in summer, we just went through summer. Right now we're technically in like the late summer. In Chinese medicine, they break up summer into two different categories. There's like blazing, real fire summer. And then there's like a kind of like a late summer, which is like a pre-autumn kind of phase. But we just finished the blazing part of the summer, which is in general connected to the fire organs. So the heart and the small intestine. So, you think about summer's a time where we need to be outside, up late, eating less foods, having fun. All of the kids usually that are in year-round school are on vacation. They're not in school. They're not thinking. They're playing. They're having fun. They're in joy, And so when we think of the heart, the connection and the emotion in Chinese medicine to the heart is joy. And, and it can be sorrow as well. But when you think about the energy of the summer, it's to have fun. It's to have joy. It's to not be in school, take a break from work, and just play, and that's why, the 2 meridians are weak in summertime are the heart and small intestine, because energetically, the solar power energy helps support that blood circulation, helps support the heart and small intestine's job as fire channels in the body. So it makes sense for them to go weak in the summer and be connected to the summer, because that's the season that's going to support, its job, really. So when we have like, you always think of like the summer of love, and like all like that whole kind of, it's summer, everyone falls in love, and, everyone just dives off into the sunset, and that energy of just like connecting to the heart, the love energy, the joy energy, and in reverse, sorrow, heartbreak. When you go through something that's so disappointing, whether it's a relationship loss, whether it's a career loss, whether it's a family member loss or a friend or something like that, you go into this sorrow, heartbreak energy, and so that in general is how in Chinese medicine classifies that emotion to the season and into those organs in general. So
yeah, I want to add something to that also. So it's kind of like your body is also on this calendar. It's also on this clock. So if you did have some kind of heartbreak in the summer that you didn't heal, or you didn't move through the emotional process, because there are processes that you have to go through. It's the shock, it's the anger, it's the sadness, and then it's back to the anger, and then it's to the understanding, and then it's to the final healing to be able to heal that. Most people don't understand that there's different phases of healing that they have to go through in order to completely close the cycle out, so it doesn't repeat itself. So when what's happening is we go through heartbreak or letdown or whatever it is, and then that experience gets stored within us. And though we think time heals, like it doesn't really heal. It just makes you less aware of what was going on. So it becomes a blanket. So the next summer that comes around, you'll start to feel, you start to think about that person again, or something will come up that will trigger that, or, and you think that it's just the universe doing these things to you, but it really isn't. It's because your body is on a time clock as well. So it's kind of like you have to take these seasonal experiences to heal what is blocking your joy. If you cannot be in that joyful state like you are meant to be in during this time period, you have to look within and say, okay, this is why am I not allowed to be in this happy state? What is limiting me? What is blocking me? I know for me that going to acupuncture and even saying, okay, I'm working on my sacral chakra right now, or I'm working on, my heart chakra, or I want to do the Buddha triangle, whatever it is, when I am in those states and those points are activated, a lot of stuff comes up to be healed without me actually having to go in and try to figure it out. You know what I mean? It's like a whole healing session when you go in, even if you're just going to do pressure points, because not everybody is comfortable with needles. What I will say is they're not like regular needles. I am terrified of needles. I mean, I have tattoos. You think God that I wouldn't be. I am though, but not with the acupuncture because it's completely different. So if there's something that's like blocking you from being able to be in that fully expressive joy, then you have to do the work to get back to that, because we're not meant to be these crazy workaholic people that just only work and try to make money and survive and forget everything else. Like, you have to be open and free so that you can give your relationships the kind of energy that they need, the love that they need, especially with your children. You have to be open and have set your life segmented. When you're at work and you're working on work and you are in the flow of work, you're able to give your all to work. When you're with your children and they're pulling you away because they want you to jump on the trampoline, even if you're in the middle of a report for work that's due, go play with them. Give your undivided attention to them. And it's easier when your energy is not blocked.
Absolutely. Yeah. And your body will let you know. I mean, if you think you're in joy and you think you're having fun and you think your life is great and then you're in alignment, you'll listen to your body. I mean, when the heart, energy and small intestine energy, which is another fire channel, the yin and yang pair, heart and small intestine, when those two meridians are out of balance, your body will let you know. The small intestine is an organ that is basically separating, what you need and what you don't need. It's all about just like with nutrients, with avoiding leaky gut and that kind of stuff, and inflammatory gut stuff. Your small intestine is working hard to say this nutrient is a yes, that nutrient is a no, and being able to separate that so that you can actually, like, you eat an olive,
Yes.
Okay, I'm not going to swallow this olive pit, but I'm going to swallow the olive meat. So you spit out the pit. That's like the small intestine, what the small intestine is doing in the intestines for us, and the emotion is discernment. It's like, if we have, like small intestine issues or bloating or gas or stuff like that, we know that maybe that our body is telling us we need more discernment, discerning on like what we need to be doing, who we need to be talking to, who we need to be in relationship with, what's going to bring us the authentic high vibration joy, instead of quick fix joys of I'm going to see my friends and get distracted from what I really need to be paying attention to, instead of that feeding that inner joy.
Yeah, also what you're putting in your mouth too, because we don't have discernment. We're so in our heads that we're just reacting to life. We're responding rather than creating life. And so we're taking all these supplements and all these things that a lot of them, the base component is soy. Like, soy causes leaky gut. It literally does. When you do the research on soy, it also blocks vitamin D. So when you are in that space of just consuming without paying attention or reading your ingredients or just doing all these things, everything is linked together. Your emotional system is linked to what you're consuming. What you're consuming is linked to the way that your body is expressing. And it also is linked to the thoughts that are being triggered. Because when you are experiencing leaky gut, right, or you're experiencing that heart like clamping, like closing, your mind is in that, I got to get safe, I got to get safe, I got to get safe. So what kind of things do you think you're going to be thinking? Like, your organs, your gut also has all, like, where your serotonin neuroreceptors are, right? Your receptor sites for the serotonin. It's all in your gut. So it's like another brain, your gut is. And most people don't know that, and they're not really paying attention to it. So they're consuming these things that are disconnecting them from their body, and they're constantly having fear-based thoughts, then creating fear-based reality, causing stress to just culminate in their lives, and they don't really understand why. When if people would just start to be, even like you said, using discernment, start there, because all you have to do is start in one place of your life for it to trickle into every area of your life. Read your ingredients. What's in there? If you don't know an ingredient, look it up. Like, see if it's on the toxicology report. See if there's something that's not good for it, because when you start to take care of your body, you're also going to realize that your emotional body is a lot easier to handle too.
Yeah, absolutely. And, in general, the heart is connected to the tongue and to talking and to laughing. And laughter is the sound of the heart. So when you enjoy, you laugh a lot. You're having fun, right? And so, and when you're discerning, you're eating. The tongue is the sprout of the heart. And so, speaking, just like I love you, and words that are, are really, really affirmative when you're eating and when you're discerning what you're putting into your body, you're just basically like totally aligning that energetic system to absorb what you need and to let go of what you don't need, so that the blood circulation and your body's heating system can stay in balance and not get overheated.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about when an emotional trauma or wounding occurs, because I know that different emotions, different traumas store differently in the body, right?
Yeah.
So like if you have heartbreak, you know that heartbreak disease literally kills 1 out of 4 women.
I believe that. It's,
It's statistically. Because when you have a heartbreak, it, instead of what a break is designed to do is to break and then grow stronger, we stay within that brokenness and we carry it with us day after day after day after day after day. And we continue to recreate that thing over and over and over again. So that would be where your heart is, or even the lungs. Like lungs, what is lungs? Guilt? Like when you have guilt, or you tell me because you're more apt on this than I am.
Okay, so in general, lungs are connected to grief. So like sadness. You want me to just go into that?
Yeah.
Okay. So in general, so when we think of the lungs, we think of, in Chinese medicine, it's connected to fall. So we'll just skip kind of like autumn. We'll come back to like the late summer. But so fall is connected to the lung and large intestine. The lung is about balance between intake and inhale and exhale. While you're inhaling, and then also like, the large intestine is all about letting go, what you're eliminating. So like the small intestine, you're picking and choosing what nutrients you want. The large intestine is saying, okay, we're ready to let that go, or we're not ready to let that go. So constipation is huge when we think of the lung element, it's weakening the lung, because the lung and the large intestine are working together to support the immune system. So the fall season, you think of like flu season, cold season, everyone gets, colds and flus, because that's when the lung goes weak. And so it's really important to balance what you're intaking and what you're letting go, and moving constipation out so that your body can actually get rid of the toxicity. This is a really good time to do a lot of, like in Chinese medicine, the lung also connects to like the communication, which is the metal element, communication and the internal dialogue. Fall season, when the lung goes weak, is when, the energy goes yin. So in summertime, the energy is young and bright and go and move and do and go on, that kind of stuff. Fall, when the lung goes weak, it's all about slowing down and getting more yin, getting more connected to internal happiness. What is going to make you happy? It's not on the outside. And you can't know what's going to make you happy until you get to know who you are, what you love to do, and connect with yourself and connect with what brings you that internal joy. And so that's what the metal element of the lung and large intestine fall season is all about. When we're out of alignment with that, we get sick, we get a cold or a flu. The lung connects to the nose. Okay, so when we take an inhalation, the nose, just like the tongue is the sprout of the heart, the nose is the sprout of the lung. So the first line of defense when we get sick, or it's like a sneeze or a runny nose or congestion, And so anytime we have that kind of seasonal allergy, sinus attack, sinus infection, that kind of like stuff, it's more considered like dampness in the body. Like the lung is connected to grief, and the emotion or the sound is weeping. So if we think of if we have a heartbreak, we don't move past it, we stay stuck, our heart stays closed, we stay in victim mode or whatever it is, that internal sadness, sorrow, that internal like grief, that just, it's almost like crying tears inside the lung, that creates damp, stuck energy, and that is like phlegm. And then sinus, since the nose is the sprout of the lung, that dampness, that uncried tears, or that phlegm, if you will, that is just blocking our ability to have the balance of being able to breathe in and breathe out. Breathing in through the nose is huge versus just mouth breathing.
Yeah, that uncried tears really does like bring up something, because I would never let myself cry. Like after my mom passed away, I literally cried every single day. Like I was dying, like my life was over, because that's what it felt like. I mean, I was 16. I didn't really have the basic understanding of how to heal or how any of that. So I got to a point where I would never cry at all. Like I had to be strong. I was a strong one. I couldn't cry at all. And I always thought crying was weakness, until I learned that when you cry, you actually release emotional toxins from your blood, from your body, from your, it's healing, it's cathartic, right? So we're in this law of attraction based world where we're like, even on The Secret, you see the girl crying and like they're saying she's crying, she's going to attract more things to her to make her cry. If you're doing it in a way where you're just always crying and always playing the victim, that would apply. However, if you're doing it in a way where you're releasing emotion and you're allowing yourself to heal, you're healing yourself so that that cycle, that experience doesn't come back up to be healed again, because things will continue to cycle in your energy field until they are resolved.
Yep.
So it's like allowing yourself to cry, for one thing, and know that when you do, it is, like I said, it is cathartic, and also being very conscious of the trapped emotion that you have within your body. You know, when you go and you get a massage and you're in the massage and it's like deep tissue and like random memories will pop up from nowhere. Well, that is because when we experience something, we store these memories within our bodies. We have mirror neurons within our brains and our cells. So what happens is that energy gets stored as in pictures, and when you are having a massage, it comes back up for review, right? Because you're pushing the tissue, so you're moving that old stagnant energy that's then bringing that up again. And people just think that it's like random. However, if you are in this constant, conscious, co-creative, coherent relationship with life and the universe, you understand very deeply that whatever is being brought into your reality is there to help you and to assist you, no matter how dark and scary or bright and happy it seems. It is there for your benefit. And when you can really understand and learn to process what the signals are coming from the universe and why you need to heal that memory that just popped up, or why you need to cry it out, or why you need to allow yourself to express it in some other healthy format or other way, so that energy can leave. Because if you think of within your body, you have vibrations going on. Then you have your dreams and desires, the things that you want to experience, also things that you have in your natal birth chart that are for you to experience this lifetime, and everything vibrates at a frequency. Well, within your body, if you have all this trapped emotion and all this blocked energy, and you have all these dreams and desires, and part of you is wanting to have them, but your body parts are not allowing them, you're not allowing you to be a match to them, those old energies have to come up to process out so that you can be a match to it. So one of the things that I always teach is life is not happening to you, life is happening for you. And when you start to understand and you decipher the code and you learn how to speak in symbolism with it and receive it, your life just gets so much easier and so much better. And here's also a thing to know. Not everybody wants to wake up. Not everybody wants to understand. You know, like I have tried so hard with some of my family members who have terminal illness to get them to read Louise Hay, or get them to change their diet and go organic, or eat plant-based, or recommend forks over knives, even sending them the videos, and they don't want to do it. It's like some people become so physiologically addicted to their karmic cycles that they don't want to get out of them. So this isn't about trying to change someone. This is about using this information to change your own life and raise your own vibration so that you can experience the things that you want to experience. And it starts with you paying attention to your body. If your body isn't looking the way you want it to look, if you have excess fat stored, you're doing that to protect yourself from something. The reason your body is storing that fat is not only so that it can hold all of those toxins that you're consuming or those synthetic ingredients and hormones, because your body doesn't know what to do with things that are inorganic. So it creates more fat cells to store in there, especially false estrogen, synthetic estrogen, that will create a fat cell faster than anything. So you're holding on to all of this to keep yourself safe and protected. So what are you going to do? You start small, right? You master your day, you master your area of life, you master your level of life. And that means just looking at your ingredients. Today, I'm just going to look at the ingredients. Today, I'm going to drink more water. Then you start to move around this energy, and you become the creator of your life rather than the responder of your life. So one of the things that I really wanted to ask you, Lara, too, was talk about autoimmune disease, right? Autoimmune disease is when your cells are fighting each other. So when your cells are fighting each other in your consciousness, your inner mind is fighting itself, right? Like you're not good enough, you're terrible, you're a horrible person, I'm so sad, I want to be good, you're not, it's like constantly doing that with each other. It's like your ego and your false self are arguing with each other. So it causes that anger. And I'm going to say even most of the people that I know that do have terminal illnesses in my life are carrying around a lot of guilt for the choices that they made in their life at an earlier age.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree in general. When we think about the estrogen and the protecting yourself around the midsection, that connects to all to late summer in Chinese medicine in general, because we think of, late summer, that's spleen stomach. That's our personal power. So, solar plexus chakra, spleen stomach area, that is all about, digestion. It's like taking in what we can take in so that we don't have inflammation, so we don't have the internal fight and internal battle against each other, the autoimmune that you're speaking of. When we have like the worry, okay, the emotion that connects to the spleen stomach in late summer is worry, overthinking. So students that are always thinking and planning and studying and never taking a break to get grounded into the earth element, which really strengthens the spleen stomach in general. So that worry that basically secretes the hormone, the stress hormone. Then you have, once the stress hormone is secreted, then the insulin isn't absorbed, the receptivity isn't good, and then you have your body can't eliminate the estrogen, and then your body, then it's that whole cycle, and then you have that protection around the middle because you're not in your power.
Exactly. So what I'm going to recommend to everyone is to look through your beauty ingredients, make sure there are no parabens and no sulfates. Parabens and sulfates are the two most dangerous ingredients that are in women's programs. Obviously, there's products. Obviously, there's many, many more. But when you just start to eliminate those kinds of things, you start to detoxify your body so that it can actually support you, and then your mental state will be better. Look at the ingredients in your, the proteins that you're consuming and the supplements that you're consuming, and make sure there's no soy-based products in there. Because this is the issue with soy, is that it's not only that it spikes your estrogen, you have to consume a lot of soy for that to happen. It's that it causes leaky gut, and soy was actually never meant to be consumed. It was meant to return nitrogen to the crops, to the dirt as fertilizer, and they just decided that it was an easy thing to create, so that that's what they would create it. The only kind of soy that is actually beneficial for you is fermented soy. So do your own research, look into your own studies. Most of all, use your intuition, because your inner being knows. So for me, I work with a lot of women, right? Like women, and it's all about sacred sexuality, the rise of the sacred feminine, sacral chakra, right? Because that's receiving, that's the power, that's the woman. And there are so many women who have, issues in their feminine parts. And even for me, having issues in my feminine parts, sexual violation, suppression, like all these things cause that to happen. And when you really begin to unlock your power within there and heal what's causing you to be shut down, everything else opens up in your life. Like it really, really opens up. So Lara, I keep hearing you talk about the seasons. Like, what do the seasons have to do with what we're talking about? Like, do you categorize the season, like the way that you go in the season, when you give somebody like a supplement plan or tell them what kind of foods to consume? You base it off the season that we're in, right? So that's an easy way to segment your healing also.
Basically, I always talk about the seasons because the seasons are so intimately connected to the organ systems and to the emotions that the organ systems have. So the seasons are the timing to when those organ systems are weak. So let's say, for instance, somebody that has, excess fire. Okay. So everybody has a birth chart. Okay. Based on your astrology, everyone has a birth chart. And based on that, you have a constitutional weakness based on the elements: fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. So, somebody like me, I have a lot of different elements, but in my birth chart, I don't have a water. And so the fire that I have in my chart is blazing. So it's easy for people like me to have a lot of heart fire, which I talk fast, I talk a lot, and I'm always laughing. I have that excess joy kind of factor going. And I will say that if I don't keep that in balance and nourish the kidney element, nourish in the winter time, the kidney element is what grounds that water. The water element balances that fire. If I don't know the timing of the seasonal weaknesses to the organs and the emotions that are weak, it doesn't help me be able to prevent physical and emotional imbalances as I move through the year. Mm-hmm. So I should say it in the reverse, like the more we understand how to keep our mind, body, and spirit connected and balanced within that season, then the emotions supporting the organs that are weak in that season are going to flourish instead of get depleted. Right. So instead of like summertime, I could easily be getting, all kinds of, heat related stuff. There's like strep throat and insomnia and really itchy skin and, things that are really like, heart related, or heart imbalance, the related that I can easily get. If I don't stay balanced, like say in the winter, if I'm not, winter time is when we connect, to the kidney and bladder. And so, and if since I don't have a water element in my chart, I was just born constitutionally weak in that element. So winters can be a harder time energetically for me because I'm weak in that element, and that's when it goes weak and my excess fire. So
also in wintertime, that's when you got to go within, and like going within is those emotional waters. So that might be like a challenge in your life, like dealing with emotion, like, because emotion is water. So I think one of the takeaways that I had from learning about the seasons through you and also what to consume is it kind of makes sense because like in the winter, it's more damp. So you don't want to like consume a lot of foods that are going to make your body also damp too, right? Or do you?
Basically, you don't ever want to try and be damp at all. But the thing is, in this, like the winter time is where the time where we eat more heavy based foods because energetically we are supposed to do less activity, and do so. You would think of like a hibernation. I mean, a hibernating bear. People. It's like we don't want to basically gain all this weight in winter, and eat all this food and not do any exercise. I'm not saying like about that, but as far as like saying a summertime meal of like a green smoothie with some protein in there, or like butters and stuff, having that as a meal versus like like a dense legume, like hearty like yam, carrot, base, like beet, more like a carbohydrate root vegetable, heavier meal, potato soup. What I mean? That makes more sense. We eat more kind of like warming foods that are like nutrient dense as opposed that are like more like heavy in nature, because that's like kind of the heaviness, not to be like gaining weight or whatever, but the heaviness connects to going inward and not, what I mean, not being as light. We want to go in, we want to kind of ruminate. It's like it's all about under the ground, under the earth, like the dark waters that like that's the scary time. It's like people think of like, oh, I'm so scared I peed my pants. It's like the bladder. That's when the bladder goes weak. You get so scared. Fear is the connection to the winter. And people are scared of the dark. That's the whole thing. People are scared of the shadow self. People are scared of the emotions, the feeling. And I have this great book. It's called What You Feel, You Can Heal. Yeah. And so and it's like with these emotions and the connection to the seasons, in general, it's some people can get easy tied into being sad and always being sad, and that excess sorrow will weaken that lung, and weaken the body's ability to stay in that balance of intake, extake, internal, external, balance. So, there are, times where if someone's chart, let's say doesn't have any metal in it, and that's when the lung goes weak, it just gives us, it's easier for that person to kind of have imbalances and heal from them versus someone that can just get over a relationship and not be sad. Like for me, like I can be sad, I can cry it out, journal, and I'm good, but
yeah, I know. Whenever I come in, you're like, oh, how's your spleen? Oh, are you sleeping? Are you having nightmares? Or how's your sinuses? I'm like, I'm fine. Why? And you're like, it's this season and everybody's having this. And I'm just like, no, I don't have any of that now, right? Because I'm so conscious and in alignment. It's not like you have to go get your birth chart and figure out what you are. Although it does help for you to know that information. If you're not already keenly aware and in that rhythm and cycle of the universe, you do have to learn it first so that you can become that way. Speaking of that, I'm doing the Awakening to Your Soul's Purpose course starting January 1st. That's all about birth charts and everything else about what you're here to do. Side note. So you will have an opportunity to go through that with professionals who can help you to understand it. However, if you are in the space of where you're doing your meditating and where you're really in a conscious place where you understand life and the rhythms and cycles, you'll naturally just do it. We'll just naturally be doing it, because when you're in harmony with nature, nature moves you in harmony. So Anne said, is menopause associated with an element? I'm postmenopausal.
An element. Okay. Menopause is connected to a hormone imbalance. Okay. So when we think of hormone imbalance, thyroid controls a lot of our hormone imbalance or hormone balance in general. And it's easy to get, emotional, like anxiety, depression, like hair loss and emotional stuff within the thyroid goes weak. Now, menopause is associated, is directly related to like PMS in Chinese medicine. It's basically excess estrogen dominance, most likely is what's happening. So as far as an element goes, it's the liver. Okay. So that's what's the elements we haven't talked about, and it's the breast health element. And it's,
what is the emotion linked to the liver?
Anger.
Mm-hmm.
Anger. So basically anger, anger is a cover for a lot of other emotions, and a lot of the have like deep cathartic work I've done, where, I'm taking a bath and I'm doing a lot of cathartic work, and under all this rage I had, I was just tears, uncried tears. I hadn't processed stuff. And
because
so,
it's stronger than being in the weakness of crying. And that's one of the phases, right? You go from that sadness to then moving into anger, then moving out of anger and moving more into understanding and acceptance and being able to, you just continue to move up. But most people get stuck there. That's what I was in. Anger was my go-to because that was how I could protect myself. So also I want to tell you, they have normalized PMS. They have normalized, we're supposed to be crampy. We're supposed to be bloated. We're supposed to be moody. We're not. That is an imbalance in the sexuality and the sacred sexuality if you're having menstrual cycles like that. It's a hormonal imbalance as well. So do not believe that you want to eat and eat and eat when you are going to start your period, or that it's supposed to be so painful, or you're supposed to be moody and cry. Like, that's not true. That's an imbalance when that happens.
Herbs easily, if that's happening to you, send me a text. I'll mail you some herbs. I mean, they work, they're fast. And you just need to make that liver tea stagnation. Get on some dandelion root tea, mix it with some ginger root because it can be a little bitter. Put a little almond milk in there, and it's like a latte. It's my liver love latte. Get on a liquid B vitamin. I mean, express that anger, exercise, lemon it up, green smoothie up. Liver loves all of that stuff.
Yeah, and also the cool thing is when your hormones are balanced, you will naturally be guided to what is exactly going to help you to heal whatever imbalance is causing that in the first place. And also remembering when you keep, it's like this. We all think we're like all human and we're cohesive and we're, coming together. If there was a famine, people would become hormonally imbalanced and they would go insane, right? Hormones are very, very, very important to keep balance in order for you to have stability in all of your life, right? Amanda said, is the pancreas connected to anything specific?
Oh, yes. The pancreas is connected to the middle jiao, the solar plexus chakra. And so basically that's the spleen stomach. And so that's the emotion is worry. Okay. So you think about this, you're so worried about something, you got butterflies in your stomach, when you get anxiety, you hold it in your stomach. That's why when you're like not breathing deep, that's why when taking a deep breath, you move that nervousness into the stomach. So when the body is in that state, the pancreas is pumping out the digestive enzymes. The job of the pancreas is to secrete digestive enzymes. So when your body is when you have the stomach worry going on, that is going to basically not allow the pancreas, they'll basically weaken it. It's going to make it work triple overtime in your bodies. Then you start getting like, diabetes, like blood sugar issues, the insulin and cortisol levels are getting out of balance. And so the biggest thing for the pancreas is to love up the digestion. Chew your food slowly, drink fluids outside your meals, and really work on not overthinking and not worrying and trusting that all is well and getting grounded. Take your shoes off and walk in the grass. Feel the earth.
That's like easy. It's so easy, right? It's like, oh, it's so easy. Here's the thing though, Amanda, I really feel with you that it's like almost inherited. Like either your mother or your father worried a lot. Like there was a lot of things going on, maybe even under the surface that you weren't aware of. So when we're in an environment where one of our matriarch or patriarch are doing this thing, it's like monkey see, monkey do. We're in a tribe. We're in a pack. We learn how to live from the elders in our immediate vicinity. So when they have an energy frequency that's always being emitted, you absorb it, and then it becomes an entrainment. So then you start to do it, right? For things that maybe you don't even mean to do it with. So I would look into that, and I would also check inside and say, do I give myself permission to surrender, this worry from my dad, right? Like those kind of things, so that you can release that genetic programming too, and then allow yourself to come back to who you, because you might not even be someone who does that. It could be someone that you just adopted that behavior from.
something else that I do too, even with my kids, is I pull and release their energy from my energy. If you're always thinking about somebody or around somebody in like proximity, it's always a good idea to pull and release them from your space. And they can, you know, it's like, you know, I basically go, okay, Joey, you know, pull and release, get all your parts, you know, back to you, and, you know, bubble him up, and do that with my son Jesse, and do it with myself, so that the enmeshment, you know what I mean? It's just so much more energetically clean, and your body can be so much more clear about what is you, and what it is that, you know, patterns that you're adopting from your parents, or patterns that just stuff that you're doing, and like going, why am I worried? Oh no, I'm fine. Oh, but my dad would never allow this, or you know what I mean? And so it's so easy to just do, because as kids, and where all our wounds are, that's, you know, that's
well, and because they're ingrained, we don't even realize. We don't realize. I mean, 95% of our behaviors at the subconscious level. So 95% of the thoughts that you're thinking, you're not even aware of. So it's like you don't become aware of something until you start to feel an emotion, until you start to feel a feeling. But by that time, you've already thought 1,000 thoughts that are then triggering that emotion. So it's being cognizant, being very quiet and conscious of the thoughts that you're thinking. Even little tiny things about being pissed off at a red light, you know, or someone pulling in front of you and you getting upset about it. It just kind of staggers on all throughout your day, so that by the end of your day, you've been in this heightened state of stress this whole time, and you're not even consciously aware that that's what is going on. So it's like nothing is insignificant. Absolutely nothing. Because everywhere you go, you take yourself with you, and everything you do it as you do yourself in every area of your life. So if you have trouble getting ready in the morning, you're having trouble in your business, right? Like you just have to be very mindful of the little tiny things. And it's almost like, well, what does this come from? Every single moment it's like, when you have the little moments, it's like a snapshot of something, of an underworld. So it's just really, really paying attention. So there was 2 questions that were asking about what are some of the damp foods.
Damp foods, bananas, tofu, heavy, greasy, fried foods, things that are really hard to digest. If you're somebody that has hard time digesting stuff, don't eat a lot of cold raw salads. I mean, in general, they are really good for you. But if you have a weak spleen, stomach, digestion, eating cold raw foods without something cooked, or without something warming, say a ginger dressing, or some, like something warming, like it could be some like warm protein. It can be something that's going to be like warm tea even, or like, garlic, ginger, cinnamon, those are all warming herbs, something that's going to actually warm up the digestion for you, so that if you're eating something that's going to be, I don't want to say, well, damp. I mean, foods that are raw are damp in that way of if your stomach isn't strong enough, it can't warm up and cook it. If that makes sense. I shouldn't say they're damp. They're just cold and raw. Any raw food is cold. So cold foods can easily translate to dampness, because dampness and cold are connected, because heat transfers, moves clouds. If you think of a dampness is like, think of a banana. When you smush a banana, that's like a damp cloud. You're waiting for it's just mush, right? So you don't want that mush, to avoid.
Yeah, no overabundance of those kinds of things, because I know when I switched to a raw food diet, like it just helped me so much, but I was already in balance when I did that. So it's kind of like, if you are someone who does eat raw food, obviously, and your system is operating perfectly, this isn't going to apply to you. So it's not like, don't eat damp foods. It's have a healthy balance, Yeah.
Absolutely. And in general, like dampness is huge. You can eat damp foods. Beer is really damp as opposed to wine. Think of wine as warming. Beer is cold and more damp. If you think of like an apple versus a banana, if you think of like, tofu, like I think of like tofu is like, it just like, it's like a banana. It's like just mush. It's like hard to digest, and so, but if you do have digestive weakness, eat more garlic, cinnamon, pepper, cayenne, things that are warming to your system, because that'll really help kind of balance the dampness. And if you do have, if you're on a raw food diet, that's fine. You just have to eat warming raw foods, garlic is a raw food. It's extremely,
ginger is a really good one. Turmeric.
Yes. Balance the temperatures of what you're eating in general.
Cinnamon.
Yeah. All of them, all those king herbs, cinnamon, turmeric, and ginger are all warming.
Mm-hmm. Holy shit, that all makes so much damn sense. Thank you. Amanda. Okay, so Jamie said, all the menstrual symptoms, I have horrible periods. So for some reason, your grandmother is coming up, Jamie. So I don't know if it was her that you inherited this from, or if you are rejecting your feminine in some way. So when you have menstrual symptoms and you have horrible periods, it is a rejection of the feminine. Like it's not feeling safe being a feminine. It's feeling like you were maybe not wanting to fully embrace your femininity, like there's something wrong there. It could be sexual trauma. It feels more like it is a conditioned kind of thing. So you're just going to have to check in, and even when you ask yourself, right, like, do I give myself permission to surrender the genetic programming of my grandmother or of my mother or anybody that you feel like you want to? All you have to do is give yourself permission to surrender it. I swear it sounds so easy, but it is the number one question that not only do I ask in all my healing sessions, also that I am constantly saying to the women in my course. So for all of you who are in my course, you know, you can vouch for me. The minute you give yourself permission to do something, it just happens. So it can be that easy. Oh, Sarah said, I used to get in trouble when I menstruated and wasn't allowed to talk about it. Okay, so that is also very old world, when they used to cast women out for having periods, like cast them out of the tribe. So that's also a past life connection. So I would surrender that, Sarah. I would surrender that old way of being, and also remember that one of the reasons why we're here to experience these things that we're here to experience is not only a karmic residue, it's also because in order for us to be the other side of it, or the champion or advocate for it, we have to experience it. So you and me knowing you and your background, what you're going through is kind of like cycling out that old rejection and allowing yourself to come into the acceptance so that you can be a beacon of light for other people to do with that as well. So just know that that's just something you had to experience on a soul level, and you don't have to do it anymore. Okay, let's see. Anne said, I'm having difficulty with weight gain and releasing weight after menopause. Will warming foods help?
Yes, warming foods will help. In general, if you're wanting to work on weight loss after menopause, it's all about balancing those hormones. So and think about this. It's like, you know, our bodies, and in my experience, our organs get tired when we eat too much food, and we eat way too much food in this country. So you know, I love the idea of the snake kind of diet, you know, where they fast a chunk of the day and they have a small meal, you know, and it's like you get your nutrients, you get your stuff, you know, and so it's basically carbohydrates in, carbohydrates out, obviously. But you have to look at like what you're actually eating. If it's like, you know, say something like oatmeal, and then you have oatmeal not with cinnamon, not with anything else, then that could be harder to digest. So if you're, you know, just as far as like balancing the different foods, like oatmeal would be more of like a heavier meal, or heavier breakfast, I should say, like more grainy and carbohydrate dense. But if you're adding a lot of cinnamon to it, it can be very warming and very supportive to the spleen, stomach, digestion area. If you want to lose weight, I would definitely work on getting rid of all this like stuff in your house and in your office or your car that you don't really need, you don't want. It doesn't add any joy to your life. Literally give away stuff in your space. It takes up energy, and it takes time, and it takes up all that stuff. So declutter. I mean, clean out the colon. You know, it's all about moving the colon.
Do a cleanse. There's a cleanse by Garden of Life that is a 10-day cleanse. It's so gentle, and it really does work to help cleanse your body. And doing that will reset your system. Also, I would recommend even looking into some kind of keto diet, like getting your body into ketogenesis so that you can start to balance your hormones again and move that out, that old weight out, because it's also emotional. It's like emotional toxins that are being trapped too. So after menopause, you know, we go through a whole revolution of who we are as a woman. So if that didn't integrate well, you're going to have that weight gain. So I would definitely look into starting to do more things for yourself, like putting yourself first rather than putting everyone else first. So that's a suggestion for you too. Jamie said, wow, thank you. I will surrender. That's awesome. Lourdes said, yes, it does, Randina. I've learned so much from you through the course. Thank you, Lourdes. I love you. What about heavy flow during menstruation? I have heavy flow, but only for like 2 days. And if you have like a lot of clotting, then that will also be linked to feminine wounding too. We all have it. if you're
Yeah.
here right now on this planet, we're all healing from the experience that women had who came before us. So we're able to sit here and talk about this, in the world without being murdered now. So it's kind of like we're doing the healing, not only for them, but all of us too.
So, PMS, I will say PMS and menopause symptoms all relate back to the liver. So liver detox, lemons, the greens, the stressing anger, look at your life as a garden and pull those weeds out. You could have one great plant choking out your tomato plant, and it's just like, wait, you need to get everything in alignment so you know what you have in your life and be able to set the boundaries, because, if you do that, then your hormones will follow suit.
Yeah.
So
I know the reason that I even learned about the whole PMS and even getting into that is because there was a time period when I was in my previous relationship where our sexual intimacy, I was very lubricated naturally, like even more than I was supposed to be. And I knew there was something wrong. So I started looking up, like Google MD and all this stuff to figure out what the reason was for. And the reason that was because I was lacking on my progesterone. So when you're too dry, you're lacking estrogen. And when you're too wet, you're lacking progesterone. So progesterone and estrogen have to be in balance. And I also had very painful, terrible hormonal bloating, like it would incapacitate me, periods. So when I learned about this, I did all my research. I looked up all the extracts that I could find. And I found this one company that I still use to this day. It's called Estrologic. And it's designed for women who are either going through menopause or right after menopause. However, if you cut the dose in half, it will work for anyone because it is black licorice root and wild yam extract, and it's all these herbs that this gynecologist put together, and it has worked for me. And from the moment I started taking that, it was like within 30 days, my next period was a breeze. And then after that, and it just has continued that way. And anytime I start to even feel a little like, I'll start taking it a few days before my period. I also drink Lara's booby tea like crazy, and the dandelion tea. I know Kaylee takes the, what is it, Donzi? Like she takes that too, and that helps her. So to even just taking a Chinese herb is going to help your hormones be balanced, so you're not having to deal with these things, because it's easier to deal with the emotional link to it when you are in a normal state of being. You can't deal with something from the same level of mind that created it. And if your hormones are out of balance, you're not going to be able to healthily handle those emotions that come up with whatever is ailing you.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So what kind of herbs do you recommend?
For the PMS stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, well, like you just said, like the Dondra Xiaosan are the two #1 formulas in general for PMS, for liver qi stagnation, for bloating, for irritability, all the PMS and symptoms and related to that. I mean, it is phenomenal. In general, if you don't want to go on a Chinese herbal supplement, then the stuff that you're speaking of, black cohosh and vitex and chasteberry, or Western herbs instead of Eastern, instead of Chinese herbs that are going to be, regulating the hormones, that kind of thing. Dandelion root, dandelion greens, like the green, lemons and the citrus is really good for liver detox. Eating psyllium husks. I mean, the insoluble fiber will clean out that colon, really, really balancing the estrogen in the body. The excess estrogen is one of the main culprits to this problem. So the more you take insoluble fiber or, fast and really clean out that colon, I mean, that having like a pinch of psyllium husk, which is insoluble fiber, with like a huge thing of lemon water. I mean, you do that, your stool will get so bulked up, all that plaque will get pulled out of your colon, and you will have so much less estrogen being reabsorbed in your body, creating the problem in the first place.
Also, too, remember that whenever you use the bathroom, whenever you go #2 or even #1, whatever it is, when you are releasing from your body, you are purging emotional toxicity as well. Because remember, our emotions are stored within our bodies, and our body wants to get rid of it, so it also puts it in the waste. So if you're constipated, you're just holding that emotion within you, means you can't really process life. So you want to consume things that are healthy, that are organic, that are going to flush your system in a healthy way, so that you can expel those emotional toxins from your body as well. Teresa said, I went from perfectly lubricated to extremely dry and constantly itchy. So Teresa, one thing I'm going to also tell you is that one of the reasons why that started happening to me, on the reason that it happened, because the lubrication was a symptom of a cause. I was rejecting my then husband. because I had so much feminine wounding that I would anytime a man would come near me, or if I'd have an experience with a man, I would either get a yeast infection, a bladder infection, or my hormones would go out of whack. And I was starting to read about it, and it was talking about being allergic to your partner. Like, it's a real thing. Like, people can be allergic to their partner. They're not allergic to their partner. Their body is rejecting them because of some deep wounding that is almost always linked to some kind of sexual trauma. A sexual trauma doesn't have to be a rape. A sexual trauma could be having sex with the wrong man, right? Like, anytime you're in that experience of having a sexual experience and you're not the total Kundalini, Shakti, in-depth energy of love, it's not the portal to God. Anytime it's not that, it is not your highest and best, and it does cause emotional damage. So it doesn't have to just be, a rape or molestation or anything like that. It can be just a drip, right? It's what I call like a drip emotion, where it just kind of just keeps happening. It's not because of one thing. So that's what it was for me too. So Teresa, I would look into that also. She said, makes sense. I was so angry towards my partner for lying and cheating. Every time we had sex, I was itchy instantly. Him too. Yeah, because you're telling, get away from me, get out, get away from me, get out. So it's, you just be mindful of that too, right? Is there anything you wanted to add, Lara?
Gosh, like I said, I can't think of anything at this time. Unless I get asked a question, it's like
yeah. Tiffany, I said one last question, because I know you also got to jump off at noon. So what about losing your sex drive? The last year, mine is gone. Well, most of the time. Trauma, hormones, or both? It's both, obviously. That's what I'm going to say. But Lara, what is your take on sex drive?
Sex drive is all connected to the kidney water element. Okay, Chinese medicine, that's the winter. Okay, kidney is all about fear. And kidney and bladder are like basically like you said, going in the deep, the deep kind of the scary waters or whatever. But in Chinese medicine, sex drive is connected to the kidney energy. The kidney is responsible for, it's like our deepest yin reserve. So as we age, our kidney energy declines, because kidney, it's basically our like fertility reserve, if you will, in general. So not that your sex drive should go down as you age, but for most people it does, because they don't balance their adrenal hormones. So
yeah, and their sacral chakra is not balanced either. So I wouldn't even take anything most people do. I would never want to put myself in collective consciousness or what society is doing, because they're all backwards and twisted and not really, even listening to themselves. Because I have clients who are 60 years old who are still at it, like no issues at all. And that's because they have a balanced chakra system and they have a healthy dose of life, and their vigor for life is amazing. So I would also say, sometimes, I know this too from really getting into transit reports in the birth chart, you do go through a period of time where it's time to focus on work and less time to focus on your intimate relationships. And there are days when you feel more sexual and days when you feel less sexual. So Tiffany, for you, I would definitely look into your transit reports to see what's going on. And I would also not even say losing my sex drive, because you're not losing it. It's still there. You're just not really focusing your energy on it. And I know how powerful you are. So if you even just took a moment to even allow yourself to start to visualize and feel into that, you would get it back like that. Also, dopamine does do something for your sex drive as well. I know there's another herb too for that too. Do you know what it is, Lara?
Not necessarily for like the sex drive, and there's plenty for men, as far as like there's like Lurong is one of the main herbs for like men is in general, for moving blood flow to the lower jiao. But I will say that lower sex drive in summer is I don't want to say very common, but way more common than it would be in a different season.
Yeah.
Because water and fire balance each other. So if your kidney water is weak, it can't balance the excess fire that you're having. So all the heat symptoms are related to that in general. So if it's like an all year thing, that's different. But in general, this season is a season where people, if they are kidney weak, if they do have adrenal fatigue, in that adrenal week, it's like get grounded, get meditating, get strengthening in general. I know like Tulsi and ashwagandha are some really great adaptogen herbs.
Ashwagandha is amazing.
Yeah, for tonifying in general the kidney. There's a whole array of Chinese herbal formulas that help strengthen the adrenal cortex. And I've got a great Premier Research Labs has I prescribed like what's called Renavan, and it's very strengthening for the bladder. And it has like a bunch of different roots and herbs that help really, really like tonify the lower jiao, basically.
Yeah.
And the adrenal, so that you can sustain the drive even when it's like summertime.
Yeah. Also, I want to touch on it, Tiffany, it may be even just for you to have new desires of what you want for your relationship. Maybe your relationship is undergoing a reconstruction. And so noticing that that's not where you want it to be, maybe it's so that you can have more desire to having it that way so that you can then experience it. Like not everything is some dire thing that you need to like dive to the depths of your soul to figure out. Like sometimes it's just a redirection. You just have to be conscious enough to know the truth of what it is in your specific situation. Do you have time for one more?
Yeah.
Okay, so Eunice says, if you have time, would you mind touching on eczema? Any recommendations? I feel I know what I need to do, but would love your added input. So I've actually healed several people from eczema, and every time we go in the Divine Effect to do a deep-rooted thing, it is always related to some kind of violation. Somewhere, and in my experience, it has been sexual. It's not always sexual, like it could be something else, but it is a rejection of the self is really what it comes down to. So what is your input on that?
Okay, so eczema is on the skin. Okay, the skin is connected to the lung, that connects to grief. But in general, any like violation, I mean the skin, you know what I mean? The violation of the skin constantly.
The first force, yeah.
The skin is our largest organ. It's our line of defense, and it helps protect us from what is good and what's bad from our body, right? So in general, eczema can be easily associated with the lung and metal element, because the skin is connected to the lung and connected to the grief in fall season, and why a lot of people in fall season get really itchy skin or really dry skin, that kind of thing, where they're having these skin issues in general. So really tonifying the lung and really tonifying the stomach. So I would get on probiotic. I love BioK. I take BioK. It's basically BIO-K. It comes in a liquid, vegan, blueberry flavor, and I drink like half of one a day. When I'm going, certain weeks of the year, I buy their big pack, and it clears up amazing skin stuff, in general, because it's like it can be like a bacterial thing, but in general, eczema, psoriasis. Psoriasis is more considered like an autoimmune, like where your body's fighting itself. Eczema in general is oftentimes associated, when kids get eczema when they're younger, it ties to the parents fighting. So in Chinese medicine, a lot of the eczema patterns come from unexpressed grief. Where you don't really know why you should be sad about something. It's like,
the parents fighting also, because when you're a child, you believe that everything is your fault. You believe, like scientifically, you are the center of everything. So you think you're the cause of them fighting, even if you're not the cause of them fighting. So it leads to self-rejection. So Eunice, I'm really feeling self-acceptance for you. Like you are going to have to sit there and love that eczema. Love it, accept it. It's a part of you that is asking for your love. It's a part of you that's asking for you to accept it. And I promise you, once you start doing that, you're going to see that it dissipates. Also, you're really going to want to focus on accepting your own self and seeing yourself for who you really are, right? Not from your head, but from your heart. She said I have goosebumps all over. Yeah, that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. Like drop down into your heart, do the process that we do. And every single morning, connect your heart to your mind, and then your mind to the divine mind, and then your mind to your heart, so that your mind is being governed by your heart space. It makes it easier to keep control of your thinking, of your thoughts when you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if anybody has other questions, you can feel free to text me. You can always reach out to me. Randita can share my number. With you, everybody, and I'm happy for other questions outside of this that pop up.
You might have to hire an assistant to take over your questions if I do that. I'm like, do you want another employee? Okay, thank you so much for this. I mean, I know it's so much information, and we can go on and on and on about this all day long, and like trying to cram all this into 1 hour is it's amazing. Thank you so much for your time, and I love this. It's so great.
I love this.
Yeah. So hopefully everyone got what they needed from this experience. If it's for you, if it's for someone else, make sure that you share the information that you learn, because together we rise. It is a real thing, and we're all in this together. Remember, we're all reflections of each other. So I love you all so much, and I hope that you have a beautiful day.
Thanks, Radina. We love you too.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.